We're still going to have to make sure that we're paying for Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare as our populations get older. There's still going to be a bunch of issues out there. But the agenda I'm putting forward will point us in the right direction.
I want to remind you what I was saying. We can't afford a commander-in-chief who insults Pa, who attacks a Gold Star mother, who actually talks down to our troops, says he knows more than our generals. Even a Republican senator said, we can't afford to give somebody like that the nuclear code. Somebody so erratic. The moment was quiet at first, almost too quiet for what it was about to become. The cameras were rolling, the studio lights were warm, and the audience was expecting the usual smooth conversation about leadership, power, and what's to come for this country. Barack Obama was calm, collected, and even seemed to be in reflection. Donald Trump, from what he was seeing from afar, was probably feeling quite confident, like he had been through it all and nothing was going to surprise him. What both sides, however, were unable to hide was the tension building in the air, as it was clear this was going to be more than just your run-of-the-mill political conversation. Obama began his side of things as softly as he could, talked about leadership, responsibility, and how truth has a way of waiting. Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing the cable. Even with all the effort and time that powerful people put into trying to bury it, he did not have an angry or theatrical tone. This was what made it hit harder. His tone was that of a man who was placing facts one by one on a table. This was not done to seek applause but because it was important to do so. This was a room that leaned in. Even before the name Trump was mentioned, everyone felt where this was going. This made every word hit harder. Then Obama changed. Obama then said, the American people deserve honesty, especially from their leaders. Leaders demand trust, but then hide how they operate. You got a president who replaces career prosecutors with loyalists who will do his bidding, and now he is telling them to hand over millions of taxpayer dollars which he had to pay in expenses for previously violating the law. Some men build their entire career around spectacle, around noise, around performance. They want the noise to be so loud that it drowns out all other questions. But eventually,
he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focus.
We see greed and bigotry being celebrated and bullying. We see science and expertise being belittled, and ignorance and dishonesty and cruelty and corruption reaping untold rewards. Every single day we see that. He spoke about deals that were presented as victories but had something else underneath. Promises of transparency somehow leading to secrecy, and decisions that seemed innocent in and of themselves but somehow had a very different meaning when they were linked. He did not shout accusations or raise his voice. The last administration left us nothing. They were a disaster. They did polling on how they did. Their polls were so negative, so bad. They did a very poor job. They did a poor job on a lot of things. They did a poor job on our military. They did a poor job on our ammunition. When I got here, we had no ammunition. He just connected the dots, calmly and carefully and methodically, as if he knew the truth didn't require all those things if it was strong enough on its own. Miles away, Trump watched it all unfold in real time. There was a smirk on his face. There was a shake of the head. There were insults hurled at the screen. But as Obama went on, the calmness began to penetrate the surface-level confidence. Trump was a man used to loud critics. He was a man used to fighting loud. He was a man used to counter-punching. He was a man used to interrupting. He was a man used to overwhelming. There was no chaos to push back against, no clear opening. Obama was not attacking, at least not in any traditional sense. He was dismantling, piece by piece. Obama was undeterred. He said,
say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
Leaders are ultimately judged, not by how often they call themselves strong, but by whether they can stand in the light without fear of what it might reveal. He said, the American people have seen too many moments when image was first, country was second, and truth was last. Each sentence landed with impact. Each silence, as he said the name Trump, was more pronounced than any shout. The audience did not applaud. They did not laugh. They simply listened, completely silent. Trump was no longer calm. According to reports, he was now pacing, his voice raised, his frustrations boiling over into anger. He picked up his phone, typed, stopped, deleted, typed, stopped, deleted, typed, stopped, deleted. Whatever he was writing was clearly not enough. Whatever he was writing was clearly not right. Whatever he was writing was clearly not what was playing out on television. Back in the studio, Obama was now going from general to personal. He said, the most dangerous thing about power is not always open corruption, but the belief that people can be distracted forever while the truth waits just out of view. He said, "There are moments when a country must choose between performance and principle, between slogans and honesty." And then he said, staring directly ahead, "A lie can dominate a headline, but it cannot own the truth forever." The room was completely silent. According to reports, Trump heard this and reacted in fury, shouting at the screen, accusing, lashing out in a way that only highlighted the contrast between the two men. Obama had not overpowered him. He had exposed him by failing to match noise with noise. By the time the segment was over, the audience was not cheering. They were stunned, like people who had just realized they had witnessed something change in real time. This was no longer a debate. This was something like exposure. A moment in which control of the narrative was passed from one person to another. And that was the humiliation. Not the noise, the theatrics, but the inability to escape the reality of being forced to face a version of the truth told so slowly that people could actually hear it. No chaos, no escape. And when the cameras stopped rolling, one thing was for sure. Obama had not simply criticized Trump. He had forced the country to think about him in a different way. And off camera, Trump's fury simply made him more defined.